To help us unpack the president's announcement, I'm joined by Iraj Abedian from Pan-African Capital Holdings. Iraj, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Your initial reaction?
I think it's better late than never. However, it is a bit unfortunate and possibly disappointing that the president said nothing in terms of analysis that we didn't know a year ago, 2 years ago, or 6 months ago. The question arises, why didn't they make decision 6 months ago? However, it's a good news that the cabinet eventually, under pressure and under crisis, has made the right decision, and sincerely hope that it's not going to be the way of the future. On so many other areas, the economy is held hostage to lack of policy, appropriate policy making, administrative procedures, etc., etc. And as an economist, I'm lost as to why should we wait until the damage is done before we make the right policies.
From your perspective, what will this hinge on? I mean, we've seen quite a few plans coming from, government where either they stall or something happens in the works and it doesn't really materialize in the way that we want it to economically.
Yeah, I think the president himself hinted at it. He is worried that NERSA is now going to take his time to issue these licenses. He talked about a year or two. So the first is exactly that. I really hope that Minister Mantash soon, within the next 24 hours, will consult NERSA, put a system in place that would say from the time of application to approval, no more than 10 working days or some such very, very sensible policy change so that NERSA doesn't become another blockage. Up to now, it's been the cabinet. After the next blockage could become administrative, and that is NERSA.
All right. So he mentioned that in terms of, reforms, this is one of the ways that they could be able to address the reforms. I mean, what other short-term reforms should we be expecting, at least that you would love to hear as an economist? I mean, we're trying to deal with the energy issue. What else can we deal with now that the iron is hot, for lack of a better description?
That's a very good analogy. Whilst the iron hot, I really hope that the cabinet would relax a lot of restrictions on households, on small commercial operations in terms of generating their own obstacles that municipalities put in terms of you and I, if we can, produce and feed it into the network so that municipalities can be less reliant on Eskom. So I think there's a whole lot of other important but supplementary measures that we need to take as a nation. Not wait until crisis hits us and jobs are lost and people lost their lives in hospitals under ventilators before we make these decisions. So in short, our integrated resource planning should be revised in a matter of days to take care of every feasible, technically possible way of generating electricity and reducing pressure on the national grid.
Iraj, thank you so much for your time. That is Iraj Abedian from Pan-African Capital Holdings. We're now joined by Matthew Parks of COSATU to get his reaction to the president's announcement. Matthew, thank you so much for your time. I mean, were you expecting this kind of announcement? I mean, we didn't know what it was. All we knew it was an economic recovery plan of some sort.
Yes, I mean, I think there was a bit of miscommunication from the presidency side when the announcement talked about economic recovery at large. So I think we were disappointed we didn't hear more measures about helping to get the economy moving, helping the economy to recover. I think we do note the president's announcement of additional increase to the embedded generation licensing caps. That's something that the mining industry and manufacturing industries have been calling for. And look, it will be welcome in the regard that it will provide additional generation coming on grid, but it won't resolve the problems of load shedding today. This will help spur investments 18 months down the road, 2 years down the road, and that's fine because it helps to provide certainty of electricity in the longer term. We had hoped, though, to hear from the president more about what is going to be done today and tomorrow to reduce the load shedding, what is going to be done to assist Eskom reducing the taking power stations off grid, helping Eskom to ramp up investments and maintenance. We'd also hope to hear more about what has been done, what's the progress in getting those additional energy providers who were announced in December last year, getting them on the grid now. It's been 6 months. We'd hope to have progress, and that will help to ease the load shedding problems of today and tomorrow.
Our previous guest, made mention of the fact that we should have had this probably 6 months ago or 4 months ago. Were you sharing the same sentiments as well, or is it a case for you where it's better late than never?
Look, I think first what we take the view is that the economy's been hit by load shedding for the last 15 years. We've been starved of reliable and affordable electricity, and that threatens thousands of companies and businesses. It threatens mining and manufacturing and agriculture. It threatens millions of workers' jobs. So I think any additional relief to getting electricity into the economy, to helping to assist Eskom provide electricity is welcome. It's a difficult balancing act because we also want to have a surety from the president that this won't be the privatization of Eskom through the back door in the longer term. So I think it's a difficult juggling act. But the reality is we have a crisis of electricity in terms of supply, in terms of reliability, in terms of affordability. So I hope these kind of measures will help to address those concerns. But I think also equally, we don't want to give business a blank check.
Yeah.
We've seen often when we have new investments in generation capacity, it doesn't mean jobs for local, especially for mine workers. So we hope that when these new power stations come on grid, they will prioritize recruiting mine workers who have lost their jobs in the hundreds of thousands over the last few decades. We hope also government will be very strict to make sure that all the materials used for those new power stations would be locally made, locally manufactured, because that can help to boost the manufacturing sector and create new jobs that are badly needed.
Matthew, thank you so much for your time. That is Matthew Parks of COSATU giving us his reaction to the president's announcement. We now move on to Kganki Matabane from the Black Business Council on his thoughts on the president's announcement. Kganki, thank you so much for your time. Is this very welcomed by the Business Council?
Thank you very much for having us. The development is very, very much welcomed, but I think perhaps maybe the president should have started by addressing the immediate challenge that we are facing, where we've got the stage 4, stage 3, stage 2. Maybe that's where the president should have started to say, maybe this problem is going to be resolved in the next month or so, because I think people are more interested in the now. But the amendment of the regulations is extremely welcome, because it will allow companies to actually establish their own power stations and supply their own electricity. So that is extremely good. And we hope from the Black Business Council that those companies that are going to be given those opportunities to establish those power stations, they will also appoint black suppliers to be the ones that are going to establish those power stations. But it's a very good intervention by the president to try and resolve the power and electricity supply, because that is the biggest challenge with the economic recovery. If you look at all the elements of the economic recovery, they all hinge on a stable power supply. Without that, even the investment by both local and international investors may not materialize. So it's a bold step by the president.
On that note, then, what do you think the success of this intervention will hinge on?
I think it will hinge on the speeding up of the processes, because it's one thing to announce something that is good, but it's another thing to speed up the administration part. So NESA needs to be able to move faster, and all these other administrative matters of approvals and others, they have to be a fast-tracked. So I think if the minister can adopt an approach that we've been using since the economic recovery, where things are compressed and they move much faster, I think we'll get far, and at least in the medium term, the issue of the electricity supply will be resolved.
Yeah. Kganki, thank you so much for your time. That is Kganki Matabane from the Black Business Council. We're going to take a quick break and we'll have more news and market news as